Everyone, welcome to the Past Puncher review for NXT TakeOver 25 on Joe. And his puncher review was WCW Spring Stampede 1994. Now, excuse us with these following two reviews. If we're like out of breath and uncontrollably excited after three awesome shows this week so far by WWE.
One awesome show, and two, who cares shows.
Liar, you haven't seen Roll yet.
I can guess that.
Oh, Mercedes!
Well, anyway.
Oh, Mercedes is on TV.
Let's get to it.
My favorite woman in WWE, Mercedes.
WCW Spring Stampede 1994. Live from Chicago, Illinois, Rosemont Horizon. The now Allstate Arena, which I actually didn't know WCW went to that arena in Chicago. I always thought they went to
The United Center.
The United Center, yeah. But for this one, they went to the...
I think it was the year the United Center was opened.
Huh.
Because remember they said SummerSlam 94 was it the first wrestle event held there?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I think that was the year the United Center was open.
At some point, they switched, I guess.
Yeah.
Attendance was 12,200, and the tagline was... Locked horns, bullish tempers, let the stampede begin. We're here in Rosemont, Illinois. We kick things off with Aaron Neville singing the national anthem of the USA. Special thanks to Arnold Furious in 411 Mania. Who's apparently British, because he said so I skipped that for being British and all.
Alright, we beat you at 1776. Hold on. Sorry.
A little fun fact.
We won the war?
No, besides that. The dark match was actually Danny Bonaducci versus Christopher Knight.
Wow.
Danny Bonaducci, if you don't know, was pretty much involved in wrestling on and off for the last 20 years or so. And he was also a member of the Partridge Family.
And Christopher
Knight was a member of the Brady Bunch.
Not Paige's father, like some of you probably thought. Paige's probably or British with the Knight family. He played Peter on the Brady Bunch.
Our hosts are Tony Schiavone and Bobby the Brain Heenan. We go to our first match. Johnny B. Bad versus Diamond Dallas Page with Diamond Doll. DDP has a present for Heenan as delivered by Kimberly pre-match, which is his initials in diamonds. Tony accuses him of instantly becoming biased towards DDP. Come on, Dallas, finish him off biased. Never. Heenan goes on to claim that Page is already a star in Europe and the Orient. Actual match is loaded with enthusiasm, but not a lot of skill. DDP takes over and hits a back suplex. He stalks Bad and stomps away. DDP looks green as hell. I disagree with that sentiment. Amazing to think that he became a main eventer. Gutbuster from DDP and a snap suplex gets 2. Chinlock time and we're out of ideas. Bad gets out with a back suplex. Bad throws an illegal punches to the midsection to get back in charge. Ref does nothing. Flying head scissors from Bad and the kiss that don't miss knocks DDP out to the floor. Bad gets up ahead of steam and nails DDP. Crowd is going nuts for this stuff. Should have been a sign to WCW that his character was getting over. Instead, a sign that they should have released him just when he's getting really good a few years from now. Anyway, Bad finishes off with sunset flip to top DDP in 5 minutes and 51 seconds. I thought this was a fun opener.
one of many times they will open and wrestle.
Yeah, it's
between 94 and 95.
It happens like 1,001 times. But still, I thought this one was a fun opener. A little on the short side, but the crowd, maybe they did hate DDP and Johnny B. Bad, maybe they didn't, but they got into the match pretty well. So, fun stuff here to see.
Did you mind if I put the fan on the
Yeah, I'm a little warm too.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah, if you hear the wind going past the microphone, it's the fan.
Is that good or is wrong?
Can you do it lower?
No, it's not.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, that's enough.
Yeah, that's probably going to be loud.
Yeah.
Yes, we're a very, very high string budget here. Promo time. Jesse Ventura talks.
Jesse Ventura?
Jesse Ventura talks.
I think Jesse Ventura.
I was in the middle of laughing. Jesse Ventura talks to Gene Oakland and tells him about how prestigious the Flair Steamboat match is. Next, he talks about Chicago being an ideal place for a street fight. Just seems like an excuse to be put on TV. Television title match. Steven Regal, who's the television champion, with Sir William versus Brian Pillman.
I don't think this fan's blowing out. The fan's not blowing out here. That's why this one.
He might have to clean his fan over there.
Yeah, or it might be done. Continue.
Anyway, start things off. Regal gave Pillman a pile driver on the concrete on a previous show. Pillman starts hard and fast and wails on Regal, causing the Blue Blood to back off into the corner. Leapfrog and a Japanese arm drag from Pillman, who seems to be doing everything in his moveset that will deteriorate the champ. Or disorient the champ. Pillman works over the arm and it's the left one because Regal is a southpaw. He wraps the arm around the ring post and drapes it over the guardrail, causing Tony to call him Mr. Offense. Meanwhile, technicians noisily repair Bobby Heenan's mic. His headset wasn't in working order.
What?
Hey, look, we're not the only one with production problems. Exactly.
We're the WCW basements.
Yes. Regal uses William as a distraction and takes over on the arm. Pillman goes for another leapfrog, but Regal catches him into a capture suplex ahead of his time. That man. Regal hauls Pillman up into a backbreaker, but gets out into a small package for two. Regal goes to the mat and reverses Pillman around in an STF, but then switches to a version of the crossface. Then switches up again. He has his full weight on top of Pillman. I could watch. That's really his opinion, but he can watch Regal all day, and I agree to that.
Yes.
Pillman gets out and goes for a backside, but Regal steps out of it and hooks up for a chinlock over his knees. How did this guy not get into the main event?
I ask myself that every day.
Yeah. Regal goes for a powerbomb, but Pillman reverses it into a Rana for two. Regal powers him into a Regal roll for two. That looked like three. He goes back to the mat and grounds Pillman for a while again. Regal screws up the Oriental crossbow, but holds on enough to keep Pillman in it. Regal ties Pillman up to run out the time a bit. It's kind of obvious at this point that Gary Michael Capetta announcing the time remaining. Fun thing too. This match was actually ringing. The ring introductions were actually done by Michael Buffer for this match. Yeah, not the main event. Or he did the main event too, but
not just the main event.
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, because he was only main event.
Yeah.
And maybe like a big headline match, yeah.
Yeah, but Gary Michael Capetta was doing the countdown for the crowd.
Oh.
Which pretty much made it obvious that we were going to get a Broadway. Regal decides to step it up and lets Pillman lets Pillman up for a fight, but Pillman drop kicks him. He goes for another, but Regal catches him. Pillman powers out of the Boston Crab attempt, but Pillman landed hard on his back. He's down selling it. Pillman tries for a monkey flip, but Regal throws him back, landing him hard. Minute left as Regal comes off the top. Pillman meets with a dropkick. Pillman needs a move, but he's too busy showboating with the corner punches, and they both spill over the top. Pillman can't get Regal back inside quick enough, and the time limit match elapses.
Much better.
Yeah.
The fan was dusty. It was unbroken.
Anyway.
The other fan was a turbo fan. That's why low was like high. Sorry. Well, just in case you were worried about our health, if we were Shane McMahon having he's sure.
Yeah. Unless we were doing this unless you thought we were doing this in a wind tunnel.
Or in J.
Anyway, back to Regal and Pillman.
I had no idea why it was so hot though.
Fundamentally, it was a good match. However, to me, it just didn't necessarily click. It's not as good as I wanted it to be. They just didn't mesh well at this point. Maybe because this is literally like their first match together. And if they had done more in a series, that they would actually get used to each other and just get better that way. But for this time around, they actually didn't impress me all that much. I gave it a C-. Tag titles. Chicago Street Fight. Nasty Boys, who are the champions, versus Cactus Jack and Max Payne. False count anywhere in this one. And I'll give you a little bit of his diatribe. When he mentions his favorite tag teams, of short-lived tag teams, the short-lived tag team of Cactus Jack and Max Payne always seems to come up when people look at him and say, "Huh? Well, here's proof. Well, here's some proof." And honestly, he has good proof. Knobs works over Cactus with a bat. Cactus takes the beating and ends up taking the remains of a pull cue and using on Knobs. Cactus clothesline, sags with an evil unfolded chair on Payne. Not satisfied with that, he waffles the crap out of Cactus. This is just brutal. The plunder shots in this one are savage. Payne and Knobs head out into the merchandise stand. Meanwhile, Cactus is bumping around for sags. Payne slams Knobs into the merchandise stand, destroying most of it. Knobs uses the remains of the table on Payne. Cactus takes a huge bump over the rail. Payne takes a header through the wall of the merchandise stand. It's a fake merchandise stand that they set up right by the stage. No fans are allowed over there, so it's obviously a fake, but damn, this shit was brutal. Sags lifts the table and bashes it over Cactus's head repeatedly. Cactus suplexes a table onto Sags. Ouch. Even after all the years of hardcore that have followed this, I'm still stunned about the level of stiff violence in this one. Knobs unearths a shovel to break the fall. The table breaks when Sags tries to pile driver Cactus through it. Cactus takes a massive bump off the fucking ramp. Sags takes the shovel to Cactus's head, and it's over in 8 minutes and 58 seconds. You probably could have been. He probably could have described that better with a little bit better description of the moves. However, yeah, this one was freaking brutal. It was just what they said. It was an all-out street fight. They threw weapons at each other, and it's not dissimilar to the style of normal Nasty Boy matches that we've done.
Yeah.
However, this one actually includes Cactus Jack, so the hardcore value of it has actually just been upped. Instead of just mindlessly throwing weapons with each other, it seems to be used more, a little bit more in a violent and brutal way.
And Max Payne, don't forget Max Payne.
And Max Payne.
Well,
I gave this match an A-.
Yeah, that was stunning.
Yeah. A Nasty Boys versus Max Payne got an A-. And yes, I took Cactus Jack out of that for effect.
Don't forget about Cactus. He might have a big part of the reason why it was A-.
U.S. title match, Steve Austin versus The Great Muta.
Steve
Austin is champion.
We just see him wrestle this match.
Yeah.
If you've seen a night you can't miss, then you won't be able to miss him walk. Because it took a while.
Yeah. Muta originally had a successful run in 1989 in the old NWA. WCW kept bringing him back in after that one for one-off shots, thus keeping him exposed to American fans. He won Battle Bowl in 1992 and held the NWA title in 1993. Back in August of 1992, Muta held the IWGP title after beating Ricky Chosu. He'd win it again in May of 1985, taking the belt from Shinya Hashimoto. Austin has been successful since the end of the Hollywood Blondes tag team, with Colonel Parker as his manager. He's held the U.S. title since besting Dusty Rhodes at Starrcade. Or Dustin Rhodes, not Dusty. At the time, the writer didn't care much for Austin, and he was a bigger pill than Mark, and that he was never really a big fan of Muta. Just cutting through a little bit more of opinion. Here we go. Eventually, after a few punches from Austin, Muta ends up hooking the shades of Wilbur Snyder and won't let Austin reverse out. Heenan puts the pacing down to respect. His commentary has been mostly insulting this evening, and it gets worse as he asks Tony if he knows what Muta means in Japanese, and then doesn't tell him. Muta goes to headlocks, and Austin back suplexes out. He goes for another suplex, but Muta blocks it into his own. They trade headlocks until that becomes so quick-paced that Austin bails out to take a breather. Muta goes for the power elbow, but Parker trips him up. Muta is distracted, so Austin boots him out of the ring, and Parker chokes him. Now Austin puts the shades of Wilbur or Snyder. I'm not exactly sure what he's referring to there, to be honest, and he used the ropes. And he uses the ropes. And partial referee at this time, Nick Patrick, sees the ropes moving and eventually catches him cheating. The crowd is largely indifferent. Muta misses a drop kick, and Austin adds a second rope elbow for 2. Austin chokes on the ropes, and we seem to be done in terms of ideas here.
No,
it's alright.
Are you sure?
Yeah. And at least Muta punches looks good. Everything else just looks fake. Like the suplex and dropkick, he hits it as if to demonstrate. Missile dropkick misses. Austin tries to hook up the new submission of Highland Vine, which is a leg submission. Yeah, that'll catch on. Muta gets out and hits the stun gun. Crowd pops huge for that, but Muta doesn't bother with a pin or what probably should have been the finish. Handspring back elbow, Super Rana. Well, he took his time, but here he's putting in some effort and excitement. Parker gets pumped out, and Muta backdrops Austin over the top rope for a lame DQ in 16 minutes and 29 seconds.
Wilbur Snyder, it was actually a professional wrestler who invented the abdominal stretch, and his legs were cemented by WWE announcer Jim Ross, AEW announcer, excuse me, like to be. who will refer to of shades of the late Wilbur Slater. Anytime if somebody uses an abdominal stretch. I never.
So it's the abdominal stretch. Didn't know that.
I never even heard JR say that. That's funny. And I know that JR is like that. That one I don't know. Do you? I don't remember JR saying that.
No.
This is late 90s, early 2000s.
This match was just there for me. It just seemed more like just to have a big name in Muta being on your card. And Chicago didn't necessarily seem all that excited with it until he hit until he had Austin with his own move in the stun gun. Then the crowd popped for like the last minute of the match, and then the finish was just the lame WCW finish of someone gets dumped to the outside, so there's a DQ. I ended up giving the match a D.
Are the other matches continue or should?
Yeah, I can continue.
I don't know, like it was as long as like the last shot did. What else?
WCW International title, pretty much the big gold belt. Rick Rude, who's the going in as the champion, versus Sting. Rick Rude's career is winding up here. I believe this is actually his last match in America.
Oh, really?
If so, it's like one of his last handful.
Okay.
Harley Race shows up on Vader's behalf to challenge the winner. He tries to cheap shot Sting, who kicks his ass. Rude tries a cheap shot too, and Sting takes him apart for a huge reaction. Sting was getting such freak reactions in the early 90s. It's a shame he got shunted back into the mid-card after Hogan arrived. He didn't get the same sort of reactions until Pro Sting in 1987. Sting just dominates the early going and takes Rude apart. Rude takes a suplex onto the floor and a few other big bumps, which I'm not sure is wise considering how close he is to a flat-out retirement. Although, if you believe certain people, Rude was fine going into these matches, and Sting suffered a career-ending injury during them. I believe on the episode of 83 Weeks, Bischoff actually said it was just he just took a bad bump on their elevated platform.
Okay.
And that just took out his back, and I believe it was something with that Woods of London.
Yeah,
if you ever hear about it.
And Mr. Perfect.
Yeah.
They had it specifically.
Where they would actually insure wrestlers, and if you actually had to take out on that insurance, you couldn't wrestle anymore, or you have to pay everything they gave you back.
So there's 83 weeks about this?
Yeah.
Was it recent?
Yeah.
Wow.
Pretty sure I missed something. Rude comes back and wails on Sting's back repeatedly and back suplexes him for 2. Rude is so confident now that he grinds and shows off his body. He goes over the chin and chin locks the fallen Sting for a few minutes. Sting powers out, but Rude rolls him up, only to get countered back for a near fall. Rude goes back to back and hooks the sleeper. Sting is nearly out, but Rude breaks the hold so he can pound Sting some more. That backfires as Sting suddenly hulks up, and it's the atomic drops all over the place. Rude takes a few nasty bumps from Sting's over-enthusiastic offense. The ref gets in the way of the Stinger Splash, Scorpion Deathlock. Ref is still down, and out comes Harley again. Sting sees him and punks him out, but Vader comes out this time too. Sting fights off everyone until Rude clips his knee. Rude looks confused and goes after the Rude Awakening, still looking around waiting for something, and Harley Race has a chair. Now Rude goes back to the Rude Awakening slowly. Rude gets nailed with the miscue, and Sting just pins Rude in about 13 minutes and 8 seconds. A little bit of an over finish. But overall, not a terrible match. I kind of wanted it to be a little bit better, but this match does get points for the crowd being so into Sting, and then you don't necessarily get the ending of the Rude Sting feud either, because again, it's one of Rude's last matches. So I gave it a C. Next match, Bunkhouse Buck versus Dustin Rhodes. Colonel Parker is in the corner of Bunkhouse Buck. I'll tell this little anecdote because it actually plays into the match a little bit. I always wondered who Buck was. I just remember him suddenly appearing with no references being made to who he was. It's Jimmy Golden for those who still don't know. Rhodes once wastes no time and starts fast. This is a Bunkhouse Rules match. And yes, Dusty came up with that. Which seems to mean taped fists, cowboy boots, and blue jeans. Pretty much a Western street fight. This is naturally a brawl, nothing more. Dustin tries to be fancy with the flying crossbody, but he misses. Flies outside where he nearly wipes out Colonel Parker. Buck finds a piece of wood somewhere and that he smashes him over Rose's head. That draws blood, and Buck has no problem bashing him in the open wound. Buck uses suspenders to choke Dustin, who's having trouble seeing with the blood running into his eyes. Buck decides to take one of Dustin's wheels out too by ramming it into the ring post. Rhodes is bleeding profusely. Dustin pulls out a packet of white powder. Those Reynolds boys. Buck takes an eyeful of grade A Colombian, taking out Buck's vision. Buck has his belt off though and whips Dustin in the face with it. Buck adds a hearty boot to the groin for a good measure. Buck misses in the corner and boots the buckle. Dustin lays the boots into him to little to no reaction, so he throws some elbows instead. Now Dustin gets his belt off for the receipt, and Buck gets punched in the face with the belt buckle. And now Buck is busted up in two. Dustin takes his boot off and goes up top. Diving boot shot. Dustin tears Buck's shirt off and whips him with the spiky metal belt. Buck gets clothesline outside and he looks stunned. Buck loads up a glove but misses, allowing Dustin to get a funky like a monkey in the corner. He throws elbows like his father and hits the bulldog. Should be over, but Parker's on the apron. Dustin, who has won the match, comes off the cover to beat up Parker. Not the brightest move. Buck sees an opening, rolls up Dustin for two. Both guys are swinging wildly now. Dustin has lost former blood, but he's feeding off the crowd in his comeback. Parker slips Brax's knuckles to Buck, who blasts Dustin right between the eyes for the pin in 14 minutes and 15 seconds. Just another good, brutal fight. Strangely enough, Bunkhouse Buck actually had one of the best matches in the night. Yeah. That's how weird this pay-per-view is. But yeah, overall, good street fight. And the cowboy gimmick played into the bunkhouse brawl match. I gave it a D. Jesse Ventura tries to get a word with Rick Rude. He says he didn't ask for help, and his face is all busted up. He shouts at Race and Vader, claiming they cost him the most valued possession of his career. Vader doesn't take that too kindly to being shouted at, and it would have had Rude not been forced into retirement with a back injury. I guess Rude would have turned babyface after Sting then. Could have been interesting. Up next, it's Vader versus the Boss. It's Big Boss Man, forget that. Ray Traylor, Big Bubba. Pretty much it was WCW's attempt on capitalizing on his fame as the Big Boss Man without using the Big Boss Man name. However, WWF had found out about it, made legal action towards it, and WCW ends up changing his name, but I may have actually spoiled something there. This is a gigantic grudge match now. Gigantic grudge match. As if it makes it mean more. Vader has Race in his corner, who seems nonplussed by being threatened by Rick Rude just moments ago. He's somewhat more concerned by Vader miscuing and crashing him onto the ramp before the bell sounds. Boss boots Vader in the face and then punches him out of the ring. A lot of size in this match, but given one half of it is Vader, I can be hopeful of the work rate. Vader shows his power by slamming Boss into the ring, then his agility with a fucking suicide dive into the ring. Boss gets his knees up, like that makes a difference, and takes over on offense. His legs would have been shattered. To the floor where Vader gets whipped into the rail, takes a header into the front rail. This is just wild, especially after two wild brawls, especially one in the last match. Boss dumps Vader onto the rail. Boss slams Vader with ease, and Tony is marking out. Vader throws meat to come back, but that turns into a brawl. Vader just doesn't have the dominance. Boss nearly gets backdropped head first over the ropes. Boss barely grabs the rope on the way down to save his life. Vader is busted open. Busted over the eye from a punch. Vader suplexes Boss back inside. Burning Splash gets two. Vader continues to wail away in the corner, and Boss fights back despite some savage shots to the head. Boss pulls a back suplex out of his ass. Boss explodes off the rope with a clothesline. Vader retorts with a boot to the face and a clubbering clothesline. Vader goes up looking for a Vader bomb, but Boss is back up, and he lifts Vader into a slam. He hauls Vader back up top and hits what looked like a tornado DDT. That gets two. He tries for a diving DDT, but can't hook the head, so it ends up just looking like a shoulder block type deal. He tries it again.